Thank you for listening to the latest episode of Capital Conflab. From rugby and football to korfball and kabaddi, we are here to take you through the very best of sport the wonderful city of Cardiff has to offer. So sit back, turn up the volume, and let us take you through the next half an hour here on Capital Conflab. Thank you for listening to this episode of Capital Conflab. We are entering the world of MMA today, mixed martial arts, and we're delighted to say that we've got an undefeated fighter with us. We've got Mason Jones. Mason, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me on. Obviously, big pleasure to be on.
Mace, my first question is, how did you get into MMA?
This is quite an easy one for me, to be honest. So I've been involved in martial arts itself since I was 7 years of age. I tried football. My brothers are all big footballers. They played for different academies, done quite well. Obviously, they just didn't stick it out any of the long routes. But they were avid and quite good footballers. I was completely different. The only part I was good at was tackling, and I wasn't really good. I was just really violent when it comes to it. So rugby, I liked tackling, but I didn't really do very well with carrying the ball or running. So there was a local grappling gym that was in Malavan that my dad wanted to take me to. They said I was a bit too young, so they ended up finding me a kickboxing gym. The kickboxing gym was Falcons. Joe Duffy, Heathgate, Richard Shaw, Jack Marshall, all of those which were obviously there. They did their times, but at the same time I did through Falcons. So that was really the early days of MMA, before MMA started. So they used to run, so Heath, the head instructor of Falcons, used to run grapple strike shows. They were early sort of Welsh versions of MMA shows. And I always wanted to compete in it. I took my time, went through different sports, ended up getting highly involved in judo at the age of 12. But my goal was always to improve as much as I could, round my bases off, to get back into MMA. So when I was about 14, 15, I did a couple of amateur bouts with, against old men. I think my debut was against like a 28-year-old guy. I was at 14, 15. I subbed him in a minute 10 seconds. And then after that, it was just the level difference between sort of the MMA scene and sort of the judo I was doing was leaps and bounds. Like the judo was insane. Like professional level of that is unbelievably high. So I spent a good couple of years, so I was 17, working away at that, chipping away. I qualified for Commonwealth Games, went to European tournaments, was like ranked very highly in Britain, and spot on GP, just GB. Never got selected for the squad, mind. The squad they take away, but then there's not, at the time, there wasn't many GB boys they took away. I think it was Mackenzie, one of the heavyweights they took. And then Connor, one of my friends and training partners, me and him competed for first space. He beat me out on that. And then I qualified for Commonwealth Games. Took an injury before leading up to that, so I ended up pulling out of that. So I still felt I was too young to go down MMA. I didn't really want to rush, so I went back into boxing a bit more extensively, concentrating on that. Ended up wanting to fight in boxing while I had a few years to play with before I went pro. Before I went pro in MMA, so I ended up going pro in boxing. Decided to pop the amateur board. Had a couple of fights for there, less than I expected, hit more problems there. So I just made the jump back into MMA, and then I'm on 10 fight win streak, 9 pro fights, 1 amateur fight streak.
You couldn't have picked a better time to be involved in it, is it? Obviously, it's always been around martial arts, but right now it's soaring. It's huge. Well,
I sort of made the jump. I think I just caught the window at the right time, because obviously Jack was always a rising star through it. So I met on, as I said, I knew him through Shaky, and me and Shaky knew each other for years and years. So it was one of them things where they all knew me, I know them. We trained together for years and different things. And then Shaky always said to me, look, whenever you want to go to MMA, just come across, drop me a word, and I'll get you on the show. So I was pro boxer at the time, and I went across, pulled into the gym. Strolled in, and I just looked at him and said, "Look, I'm ready. And he was like, "There's a show in 2 weeks." He was like, "I'll put you on the card. I guarantee you will fight." He said, "I know you had a lot of problems with boxing with pullouts." He said, "I guarantee you no one will pull out." So that was the first Safe MMA registered card. So Safe MMA is the organisation that runs all the medicals for the high level MMA cards. So Cage Warriors is Safe MMA registered. UFC, they do their own version of it, but the Safe MMA Reg is a copy of the UFC thing. So because Cage Warriors is tied so close to the UFC, they do the same medical procedures. So like obviously Cage Warriors don't waste time putting money into someone. I know that's a really brutal way to look at it, but they don't waste time putting money into someone, building up their hopes and dreams for them to sort of get UFC and fail a medical, and which I know happens. So one of my friends in Team Alpha Male, he signed a UFC contract. Was getting ready for his debut when his brain scans come back to say that he had a very major problem with his brain, that any impact would have killed him along the way, and he was already UFC level. So these things are perfectly good. So this was the first Safe MMA Reg tournament, and my first opponent failed his brain scans. So it was the first tournament they'd done. So they didn't really, and they were sort of going on. The experts that the doctors they'd had were sort of looking for any anomaly. So he got flagged for an anomaly, and we did end up fighting after. He had to go through tests and different things and loads of testing, and they basically said he just had a minor anomaly with his brain. There was nothing obviously to worry about it, but that fight was done at the time. So that was off. So they found me a late minute replacement on about 2 weeks' notice, I think it was, or a month's notice. 2 weeks' notice. 2 weeks' notice, and he failed his eye test. So I remember again on the phone to Shake, and he said, "Look, mate," he said, "we promised you that we get you an opponent." So he said, "I'm going to get you an opponent." And I was like, "Well, there's like 2 days to the fight," so he couldn't get me a pro opponent sanctioned at the time. So he got me an amateur fight, and then obviously my pro career started after that one. I think I subbed the guy in the first round. I ended up signing a deal with Cage Warriors after that fight, and then they graciously allowed me to fight off from promotion after that, so I got another fight in, because the only cards left that year was in Denmark, and there was no fight to me in Denmark. So I fought in Swansea on adrenaline, fought Brett, who had the bad brain, who managed to get sanctioned, beat him in the first round, and then ended up obviously going to the rest all on Cage Warriors. Fought in Cage Warriors academies and major shows. Now obviously I'm head of the card and got a shiny new belt.
It's a lovely new belt as well. That you've had.
It's really heavy. We talked about this before. Because, I remember it seems like as soon as they put around your waist and all, I looked really serious in the video. And my missus was like, "Why wouldn't you celebrate?" And I was like, "Well, I had a lot of things I wanted to say, so trying to remember everything I had to say, and I didn't really know whether it was going to interview me or interview me after. And I wanted to mention one of my friends who wasn't very well, and obviously say thank you to my coaches, my sponsors. So I was running through everything in my head and forgot to smile. So then I had a little smile and a dance, but it was off camera then. So it was one of those things, do you know what I mean? But it was a crazy moment for me. But the belt's ridiculously heavy. It's really surprising.
Your Cage Warriors career has gone from strength to strength. You've now got the shiny belt on your shoulder. You're the dragon, aren't you? Presumably because you're Welsh, that's where it came from. Where was that decided that you were going to stick with that?
So it was a bit of a split between both. So I always had this thing in my head. We were trying to pick fight names, and because you needed a fight name really, and one of my coaches was determined that because apparently I look like Macaulay Culkin, Home Alone Jones, and there was no chance of that. So my other coach was like, I got a tattoo of a dragon on my forearm. It's one of my first tattoos, and it's mainly because like this mindset of a dragon. So it's fire in a belly, keep a cool mindset, and always stay calm. And that is me all to a T. So with Aaron, the Welsh thing, and the whole, when I get UFC, I'll be the first Welsh dragon in UFC. That's obviously nicknamed the dragon, not the actual first Welshman in UFC. I'm a bit late on that front, but it was the whole mindset and stuff about it. So yeah, it's a bit of both. I am going to be in UFC in the next weeks, months. So the whole dragon thing will work quite well. The only other one who's in UFC at the moment I know of is Paul Felder, the Irish Dragon. So I should slide in quite well there. Maybe me and him can have a fight if he hasn't retired. I think he's on about retiring.
I remember the first Welshman was Brett Johns, but he's rolled with the pikey, hasn't he?
Yeah. Well, Jack Marshall was the first Welshman signed.
Yes.
So he signed first. He fought on higher up the card. So Brett slipped in on the undercard and just nipped it from him. He did, but. Yeah, me and Brent did judo together for years as well. This is why it's weird. So, obviously, Marshman, I trained in the kickboxing gym with Marshman when I was at Absolute Dot. Brett, I met on the judo scene when I was about 12. Brett Johnson's dad is a judo instructor himself. He used to be very into sport. Obviously, now he just coaches. He's only got one leg, his dad has. So, yeah, nice. Wow. He's younger. So he's obviously just an instructor now. But I did a couple of his competitions, and I met Brett on the Welsh squad and different things. So me and him, we've always been quite close as well. So it's weird how sort of everyone on the scene sort of knows each other.
Welsh MMA is really sort of burst. You mentioned Brett, yourself. You got John Phillips is off to Fight Island as well. Yeah. Jack Shaw, you also mentioned. Are you guys? I imagine it's quite, you're rivals at the same time because it's an individual sport, but representing your country, you're all quite close, I imagine.
We don't really fight, so obviously we're all different weight divisions. So the only ones who could sort of fight is John Phillips, Marshman. They had a fight previously, and they've always had a bit of a rivalry, but it's always been a bit of a friendly. Like, they wind each other up, but obviously they want to knock each other's heads off. But they both support each other when they're fighting. Brett and Jack are training partners, and now Brett obviously trains out down in Cleary with Jack. But they never really had a rivalry because they sort of missed each other. Whether UFC make them fight or not, I can't see it happening. But we all support each other. Do you know what I mean? Like, we're all there. It's a Welsh thing. We want to see each other do well. And obviously, I'm severely jealous. They all get a fight on Fight Island. I'm horrendously jealous. Do you know what I mean? Like, who doesn't want to fly to Abu Dhabi to fight on some random island?
We'll get onto the UFC. I think we should start first with Cage Warriors, though, because that's where you are. 9-0, belt in your hand. Do you see much, with the greatest respect to everyone else, do you see much competition in that division?
No. Jack Grant was there. He's off a fight. Obviously, everyone says about me fighting Paddy Pimblett, who's a Scouser. I take that fight, no problem. But it's sort of, those fights don't really interest me too much. They're good high-level fighters, but I want to be fighting UFC-level guys, people that I beat, and I can show that I'm more than ready to start in the UFC now. I'm in my debut. So for me, a UFC fighter or someone who's just left the promotion will be perfect for me. I mean, a UFC vet would cement my place. I think, and I've heard previously that there's a bit of interest in me from UFC. So all I've really got to do is get some good wins and wait for the right time, and I know my place is going to be there, and I can start smashing through the UFC roster. It's just a matter of time.
I was just going to say, have you had any contact with them at all?
No, nothing. Nothing from me. So my manager, he's very close to the UFC, so I got the same manager as Jack. There's never a worry with that. Uriah Faber, obviously I train him there quite a lot. He's been putting a lot of good words in for me, and he's mentioned to Sean Shelby as much as he can that obviously I'm available to fight as well, so it's just a matter of time. I just obviously got to keep chipping away and fighting, and all I want to do is fight. So I'm hoping to fight mid-September now, my first defence. Against who I don't really know. It doesn't really matter, just as long as I get a fight.
I saw that Boylan put on Twitter that he's got big plans for Cage Warriors return, and there's been lots of people through Cage Warriors, the likes of Bisping, McGregor, who have gone on to make huge names for themselves in the UFC. Yeah. Do you think there's lots of promotions out there, but do you think Cage Warriors is one of the strongest ones, like feeders into the UFC?
Well, its record stands for itself. Like, the amount of fighters they've passed across the UFC, I think we're almost in the 90s now. They did list it, I'm sure it's 92. It is the best feeder promotion easily. Obviously, it's a good promotion to get to Bellator as well. There's a lot of ex-Cage Warriors guys who moved on to Bellator. Houston being one, Lou Long another. There's multiple people who've passed across. So they're both very good promotions.
We had Tesney Evans, who plays squash for Wales, on our last episode, and she was talking about sort of superstitions before, whenever she plays, putting a left shoe on before the right. Do you have any sort of pre-fight rituals that you have to do before every time you walk out? No. No, you don't? I don't mind.
I like to have a sleep before I go. But that's about it, to be honest. So I normally just chill out, have a sleep in a day and go. My coach wraps my hands for me. But no, I don't. I think they're sort of a shackle when it comes to what I do. So things happen all the time and things change. Like the last fight was the old COVID thing. It was the first time my dad had actually been in my change room for me. So that was different. But things like that, they just sort of, they're hindrance more than anything else. So it's little things. Like, I don't really get tied in too much with those, like obviously wearing lucky pairs of boxers or lucky shorts, lucky gloves. It's just those things can just sort of, if they don't work out for you, they can obviously cause you a bit of anxiety, and it can affect your performance. So I don't really have too many rituals. I think we've got a little thing where I have the same walk-up music every time, but that was more so for sort of it's a song I like, and I like the sort of the words behind it a lot. And it was just something that my brother picked and something that stuck with me through all my 9 pro fights. But yeah, I try like I said, try and stay away from stuff like that. Like fighting's a hard enough game without adding problems. So.
No, I don't blame you at all. I just know lots of sports people have one, so I was curious if you did. 104 and 108 were in Cardiff, weren't they?
Yeah.
How was it? Did it mean more to you? Was it exciting fighting in Wales in front of, I guess, your home crowd?
So nerves, excitement is about the same. Like as soon as I get a fight, I'm pumped, I'm excited. But the atmosphere when you walk is it's very, very hard to describe it. It is electric. That would be the easiest way to say it. Like that is a full stadium of people who literally just want to see you smash them in smithereens. Do you know what I mean? So everyone's cheering, everyone's waving things new, everyone's trying to grab you, and it's just one of the things. It's sort of I think it's sort of this nerdy intro into how McGregor feels when he fights every time.
Your last fight then, so you won the title. There wasn't a crowd for that, was there?
No, there was nothing at all. So it was a really weird one. So it was supposed to be in London.
Yeah.
And then my opponent pulled out like 2 weeks before the fight.
You've had a lot of that, haven't you?
Yeah, it was a nightmare, man. But I decided a lot laughing when they told me because we literally warned them a month before. It was like, look, everything in Europe's going off this COVID thing. Like, is it going to be a problem? And they was like, we can't read the future. We're doing our best, but we think look, just leave it with us. We'll sort it. But 2 weeks out, they rang and they said, look, he's out. He's medical problems with his gym, so he's out. We found you a replacement. Do you want to take this? So I sent my coaches. We accepted on the day. Sent it back. All done. And then fight week, they rang me back to say that he'd failed his medical. He had an eye condition that had got worse instead of going away. So they were like, look, he's out. They offered me Joe McColgan. Now, Joe McColgan's someone I was watching all the way through, especially before I made my debut. So before I made my debut, my coaches had given a list of people I wanted to fight, and they were literally the top 5 fighters in the division. I fought 2 of them now. The other 2 were sort of, one's gone run off the Bellator, and the other one's gone right down. And then the other one I haven't fought yet. So they were on my radar anyway. They were really good fighters, so I added them to the list. So we knew he was legit, and to obviously take that fight on what was 3 days notice, 2 days notice, without specific camp was no worry for me. But I was just hoping my coaches would take it. So I was like, look, we need him to speak to him, and he was like, look, you take the fight, we'll put the title on the line. So I was like, oh, here we go then. So I rang my ex-judo coach who corners me, Craig. He's sort of my wrestling coach when it comes to this. He's got very good no-gi skills, which is in sort of like a rash guard and shorts. Now he fights a lot. And he's the one with the level head. So I rang him, he was like, look, we've watched stuff on him before. I'll do a bit more looking now, and then I'll give you a ring back and let him know. So I rang my boxing coach. He said, I don't care. We've seen him. We're happy to take it. And then I rang my dad. And my dad said, as soon as I mentioned Joe and title, he was like, yes, take the fight. Yes, come on, you've been waiting for this, take it. Why haven't you accepted it yet? And I was like, look, we got to go through, tick the boxes before you accept.
Yeah.
Rang my other coach, and he said exact same as my dad. So I rang up, accepted the fight, and obviously we already had a game plan for him. I had a game plan for my 5 fighters that I targeted anyway at the start. So we just literally put a bit more of that into motion and nailed it. My plan was literally to slow him down, pepper his legs, pin him against the cage, work him in the clinch, and then hit him with the long shots until he shells up. And when he shells up, as soon as he shells, he looks down a couple of times, and his hands go covers his face, and his elbows open. So any shot coming up is he's open to. So it was either going to be an uppercut or a knee. I seen the gap through a knee, and that was the end of Joe.
You sort of looked to the ref as if to say, are you going to stop this? And there wasn't, so you threw one more and then he got involved.
That fight where I looked at, that wasn't against Joe. That was against Lawrence Tracy.
Yes, that's right. I'm getting them confused.
No, it's fine. This one, it was the same sort of knockout with knees, but I cleaned him out with knees and then I hit the 3 shots.
That's right, yeah.
They all blended in, but they all blended in. The only reason I knew that one is because of the fact I remember people asking me in interviews after it why I looked at the ref first. The game to stop, and did I think it was a late stoppage? And it was no, I just had a really sore hand. I had a problem with my hand. I was hitting him in the head, and my hand was just killing. So I was hitting him. I was looking at the ref, please, my hand, stop the fight.
I thought it was you were looking at the ref as if to say, really? Come on, this guy's done.
Nah, I don't mind hitting people in the face if they want to take them all day. But, he had, like, the fight with Lawrence, so Lawrence is a really nice guy, very tough, but I give him a battering in that fight. Like,
yeah, you
I
did.
battered him from start to finish, and I thought they were going to stop it earlier. But again, I come out of that fight, I worked on my game, and I improved it. So that, like, with Joe, rather than where I literally beaten them until they stop, I finish him cleaner. Like, I hit Joe with a knee, and he was flash gone. Like, he wasn't even really defending himself. That's why the ref stepped in so quick, and it was a good referee stoppage for a title fight as well.
I guess the most important thing one of the most important things within MMA is to sort of learn from every fight, whether you win or lose, is to take something from it into your next one.
100%. And I think, obviously, it's all about benefit for the future. So, my Cage Warriors career, there's fights where I probably could have finished earlier if I had done what I was really good at, taking people down and submitted them, or worked the ground, or gone specific strategies. But I wanted to become a whole fighter. So, a lot of my fights, I spent time striking a lot more. I spent time wrestling, I spent time in sort of positions and forcing situations, so that as a whole, I can improve, so that when I do go into UFC now, I'm like, I can tear guys apart in any situation you put me in. Like, I'm good against the cage, I'm good off the floor, I'm good putting people into the cage, I'm good striking in distance, I can knock people out, shoot people, choke people, whatever they need me to do, I can do. You've
picked a sport, there's loads of sports, you said your brothers play football and rugby, where it is an occupational hazard getting punched and kicked.
It's something you expect, to be honest.
Of course. That's part of the job. I guess you have to be a person of a certain mindset to really excel in that sort. It's not for everyone, is it?
Well, this is the thing. My older brother, he sort of ended up with most of the brains. My younger brothers had the looks, and I was just a brawler of the family. So it was either going to be this or it was going to be boxing. And I like to kick people. I got really big feet, so it's good to try and connect. And just like my coach says, you just got to land one, and someone's going to be going to sleep. So it's just a matter of time. Do you know what I mean? So I built the fight. It's always been the way I've been. I've always been quite tough. I've always excelled at sort of athletic sports. Like I was quite good at long distance running. Leading up to my last fight, the Alexi fight, we was doing watt bike testing, and I think one of my test results on the watt bike come back like an average of a sort of low level professional cyclist. It was just stuff I've always got quite a high aerobic capacity anyway. My SEC program's impeccable. I've used that word so many times today, and it's stuck in my head. I have to stop using the word. But yeah, it's one of them things you just sort of. I like MMA because, like, obviously I boxed, I did judo, I wrestled, I did BJJ, I've done Thai boxing, I've done sort of all these different sports across the thing, and none of them are sort of as complete as MMA. So MMA, if you've got someone and you're outstriking them, then they can try and level change, they try and take you down, or they try hit submissions, or the fight can change like that. So, and it's the same for you. If you're getting absolutely lit up on your feet, you always got something else where you could pop in and you could change the situation. And I love that aspect of it. So if I get outstriked, I'll out wrestle you. If you're out wrestling me and out striking you, then I'll manage to get it down somehow, or I'll literally beat you in the transitions. So I'll be that much quicker than you that you won't be able to deal with it, and then I'll take you down. Because if I'm smarter than you, I'll beat you 99 times out of 100. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, MMA is one of them fights where all you've got to do is hit someone with a shot, and they're going to sleep. Also, on the other side of that is something's got to happen. So Scott Malone fought on the same. God, it wasn't the same card as me. When was it? Scott Malone fought. I don't know whether it was the same fight as me or whether it was before. I can't remember when he last fought. But he threw a body kick early on. The boy threw a body kick at Scott. He caught it, turned the wrong way. The boy took his back and choked him out. And all it was he caught the kick, went the sweep, and sort of gave his back a little bit too much. Instead of capitalising, he got subbed in 10 seconds. So that's the whole beauty to MMA, is a fight can change like that, or running and come out and something can just happen, and you just think, oh my god, what just happened? Like, these are smart fighters. So like, I mentioned him earlier on. I know my coaches don't sort of like me mention too much, but as a salesman and a fighter, he was sort of top of his tree, which is McGregor. And if you watch his fight against Jose Aldo, like literally in the change rooms before the fight, he's doing the same entry that he literally knocks Aldo out with, which is bounce back and forth, and then it was the overhand left, and then the finish off the right. So he literally knocked him clean out with the overhand left.
I stayed up for that fight. I was a bit disappointed how quickly it finished. It was over like that, but it was.
He stayed up, thought it was going to be hell of a war, and he was like, "Oh, what's going to happen?" Stayed up all that time, powered right through, and I like my sleep too. And then literally he got clipped, and he was like, "Oh, I wish I just got to sleep and woke up and watched the replay."
Yeah, I'm the same. I learned from the mistakes. I did that for the Khabib McGregor fight. I went to sleep first, and that was a bit dramatic afterwards, wasn't it? But that's another.
Afterwards, it's more exciting than the fight.
Well, it was to an extent. It was all a bit crazy.
True, yeah.
I imagine you watch the UFC every week or most weeks it's on.
Yeah, it's homework for me, really.
Yeah. Are you looking forward to Fight Island?
Oh, massively. One thing, because a lot of the people fighting are my friends, and two, some of the matchups are insane. So, I'll be watching, and hopefully there'll be a little pull out for a 155er, and someone wanting to fly Gravity Abbey and smash someone up, which would be nice. Do you know what I mean? Who doesn't want to get paid to go on holiday and smash someone up? Do you know what I mean?
We've got a couple of quiz questions for you. We ask all of our guests a few questions on themselves and their own careers. It's not we're not throwing anything wild at you.
No, it's not. If you have noticed, I love talking, so we can stay on here, throw as many questions at me as you want. I'm not holding it down.
Well, we'll see if you can. How much of your own career? Only 5 questions, not too much. They get a bit harder, I think. We try to stagger them. First one, of all the fighters you fought, so in your 9 professional fights, which of your opponents had the most wins going into the fight with you?
Desmond?
No, it was Alexei.
Was he really?
I think
was he 14 and something? 14
I think he was 13. I think he was 13 wins going into the fight. I think he was top. Second one, which 2 opponents did you beat via submission with a rear naked choke?
So that was Sean Luther.
Yeah.
And who else did I choke? Was Coleman, was Alexei. God, who was the other one? Craig Edwards.
Is correct, yes. This will be an easy one. You'll get this one without any issues. Who are the other 3 Welshmen who have held a Cage Warriors belt?
Jack Shaw, Jack Marshman, Brett Jones.
Yeah, no, knew that wouldn't be any issues.
Easy one, easy. Throw them, all that ones up, you journey.
Can you name the 3 lightweight champions in Cage Warriors before you?
Yes, so 3 of them would have been Jai Herbert.
Yeah.
Then before him was Goldfish, Fish Gold.
There was one in between.
There's one in between, was it? Oh, yeah,
Soren Bach, yes. Soren Bach. And then the last one, which is the hardest one, so I've given multiple choice on this. How many, as a professional now, in your 9 fights, how many minutes have you spent in total in the octagon?
Well, that's quite a lot, because I've got this decision twice. And the other submissions, I don't think I've had many first rounders. So,
do you want multiple choice, or do you want to have a guess?
Yeah, go on, knock them out.
84, 89, or 94?
84.
89 it is.
Should have gone for the middle option. I always go for the middle option. This, do you know what I mean? Should have gone for the middle option.
Always the middle option.
I'm going to have to mix it up next time. Apparently I always go for the middle. Don't do that again. Mason, thank you very much for joining us. We massively appreciate it. If you...
let me just apologise as well, obviously, because I knew I was supposed to be on the other weekend. Obviously, with everything that went on, we won't say more, but obviously I apologise for not being able to make it. And anytime you need me on again, drop me a message. I'm always keen.
And we'll try to get down to the next the Cage Warriors, because if we can get down there and speak to you before or after the fight, that would be a treat. And
yeah, fingers crossed it won't be a closed doors event again, because I like doing it, but I think I prefer fighting in front of the crowd. So,
yeah, I think we've enjoyed the football with the big football fans, and we've enjoyed that being back this week and watching it on the TV. But it's not quite the same as a live sport event.
Fake sound effects in the background now and again.
Yeah. There were some stadiums which sounded louder with the sound effects than they do when most of the fans are in there. It's a strange old time for sure. But as I said, thank you very much for coming on, and best of luck. Hopefully next time we speak, you'll be in the UFC, and maybe the time after that you'll say it on that belt around your shoulder.
Oh, very nice.
That would
Won't take long. Just got to get signed.
And quite frankly, neither me or Niall would disagree with him or bet against him. Mason, thank you very much for coming on to the show. We really, really appreciate it. Scary man, mate, but a man who's got a bright career ahead of him.
Yeah, mate, definitely got a bright career. Very ruthless.
9-0, can't fault that, and it would be nice, as we said to him, when Cage Warriors is next in Cardiff, and hopefully not behind closed doors, we'll definitely have to go down, because that would be a spectacle to see him go 10-0 would be great. Next week we've got, as we alluded to in last week's episode, we have a former Cardiff City player, and as always, just a quick reminder that we're on social media, we're on Twitter, we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook. Get in touch. We want to hear from you. We want to know your thoughts. We want to know who you want on the show as well. So get in touch. Let us know your thoughts. And otherwise, until next time, thank you for listening to Capital Conflab. Thank you for listening to the latest episode of Capital Conflab. If you have a story you want featured, then get in touch. But for now, until next time, you've been listening to Capital Conflab.